Pry open your third eye with me, your big-headed know-it-all, polymath Scott Spackey, and guests. Change your mind, change your life. Full episodes, services, knowledge, and all you'll ever need on scottspackey.com and life-mind.com. Are you ready? Welcome to Pry Open Your Third Eye. This episode is going to be about E&P. We're going to do this in several episodes, part 1, 2, maybe even 3, because it is an amazing subject, covers a lot of territory, and it is so useful and valuable. It will literally change your life and how you see people and things in your world, no doubt about it, and empower you with skills and abilities to navigate through the world in ways you can't even imagine. So get ready for all this. So we got to back up a little bit, of course, and discuss what it is and how it came about. E&P, Emotional and Physical Theory, was founded by Dr. John Kappas in the 80s. He's the founder, brilliant man, and he's the founder of Hypnosis Motivation Institute, the only accredited college of hypnotherapy in the world, as far as I know. Definitely the first one, and pretty much the only one, an accredited college for hypnotherapy. Now, back up a little bit more. As I was hitting a lull in life, I was successful as a contractor and had a home and a vehicle and truck and was coaching baseball with my son and having an amazing life, and everything was great, and I felt very unfulfilled. I was successful and I had everything that people want, and I was like, what now? I've done this, I've accomplished it, I'm very proud of this, and I'm very satisfied, but I had this gaping hole inside of me. I didn't feel like it was doing anything meaningful with my life. I'm sure many people can identify with that. And I needed to do something that had meaning to me. I was waking up depressed all the time. I was successful, doing a great job, had a strong career with a good company that I built from nothing, and wanted to change my life. And so my only other area of expertise other than contracting was I was an expert in mysticism and spiritual theories and a religious theologue, and so I was an expert in spiritualism, mysticism, religion. And I thought that I would want to go and tour and speak on these subjects and have workshops and teach people, and that's kind of what I wanted to spend my life doing. And as I explored the potentials for this, I saw the people out there doing this, that they had many things in common. Many of them had letters after their name, PhD, MFT, Psych D, whatever, and I didn't have any letters after my name. I never went to college. And I'm like, okay, well, how am people going to take me seriously when all these other people that I'm going to be competing with that clearly do not know as much as I do? I'm looking at their material, I'm like, they can know the basics. Like, I know the deep, deep layers. Like, I'm really good. And so I need to get some letters after my name. And I found that a few of them, many of them also, a very common one was they had CHT. I looked that up, Certified Hypnotherapist. And I'm like, oh, well, that's got to be easy. I can get some letters after my name. It may not mean much, but I can get some letters after my name. So I looked into it. And I found the Hypnosis Motivation Institute in Los Angeles, because that's where I lived, and they were nearby. And so they offered a free course for 1 week to try it, and then they also had a home study program rather than just going to their college, which was not too far away. But again, a single father, and a career and all that. I could not go and sit in a classroom and go to college. I couldn't do that kind of stuff. So home study was a great option for me. This was kind of new back then. And so I did the free 1 week course, and I was fucking blown away. Literally on the edge of my seat. It's like, oh my God, I want to do this. This is amazing. It's so brilliant, so powerful. You can change people. You can help people. This is amazing. I want to do it. Now, this is no common hypnotherapy thing, not hypnotizing, not hypnosis, hypnotherapy, very different thing. So I signed up and took the course, and I learned a lot of great stuff. One of the two main things I learned within HMI, John Kappas' HMI Hypnosis Motivation Institute, was E&P and Suggestibility. That set them completely apart from everything and everyone else. And I got to say that so much of my practice that became very successful was based on those two areas. not just because I could use them to treat clients, but because I could understand people instantly and levels that no one else probably possibly could. Let me give you an example of this. In my view, Dr. John Kappas is a brilliant, brilliant man. He has innovated the E&P and the suggestibility modalities that he uses. And so he's the one that founded them. By the way, John Kappas, here's some irony. He was married to the Brady Bunch mom, Florence Henderson, for many, many years until he died. She saw him teaching on a lecture or something about hypnotherapy, and they started dating, fell in love. And the irony is that, of all things, hypnotherapy, of course, is not primarily, but often used for quitting smoking. That's a huge thing that it's used for, and it can be very effective if you use it right. And what did he die of in 2002? Lung cancer from smoking. And I tell you, when you see him use hypnotherapy to solve people with smoking, it's like done. It's pretty amazing. So let's back up a little bit more. So John Kappas exposed, I'm studying the course, I'm taking this wide course of things because I didn't want to just settle for being a hypnotherapist. I took the next leg of that and became a clinical hypnotherapist. This means that I am certified, so I have a CCHT on my letters. The clinical means that I am trained and certified to administer things in the clinical areas. That means trauma, crisis, phobias, okay? So, very intense things. And also, I can also use hypnotherapy for people that are going into surgery, that don't want to use anesthesia or use less anesthesia. And I did this a couple of times, and it is some eerie, scary stuff, thinking like they're going to cut this person open because I'm hypnotizing them. That's the big responsibility. It was terrifying. But I did it a couple of times. It was pretty interesting. So the suggestibility theories that John Kappas found was based on Milton Erickson. Let's go back to the 30s. Milton Erickson was a hypnotherapist and psychologist. He was a peer, or you could say rival, of Sigmund Freud. Freud debunked and crapped all over hypnotherapy and said it was complete bullshit, okay? So he did not support that at all. And the reality is, it's because he was jealous of Milton Erickson. He could not do what Milton Erickson did. And so rather than praise Milton Erickson for having abilities that he didn't have, he downplayed it and said it was all garbage, which is complete crap. Sigmund Freud was a terrible hypnotherapist. Milton Erickson, on the other hand, could literally shake your hand, and he often would do something like this and just put you in a trance and heal you with stuff. He was brilliant. And when he was asked how he did it, he said, I can't tell you. I don't really know. I make it up as I go. When I meet somebody, I know what to do right away, and I just do that. And that's kind of how I've always been. I more work intuitively. And so eventually, a bunch of bratty college kids studied Milton Erickson's techniques and all this, and they came up with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which maybe you've heard of. Personally, I think it's crap. I call it the used car salesman technique. So it does work on people that, in my opinion, are rather simple and maybe a little slow, very suggestible. But it doesn't work on anybody that is aware and really paying attention. To me, I recognize NLP right away when somebody's doing it. I'm offended. I'm like, get away from me. I can't stand it. So they said that NLP evolved out of Milton Erickson's techniques, and the reality is it's not at all. What Milton Erickson did, he couldn't write a book, he couldn't explain it because he said, I can't explain what it is that I do. What I do, I make up when I'm doing it at the moment. And he was just brilliant. So I'm kind of that way. I stood on the shoulders of giants. Freud, Carl Jung, Milton Erickson for hypnotherapy and many other things, as well as John Kappas, who taught E&P and suggestibility theory. Now let's back up a little bit more. Why this part of the story is relevant, I think, is because prior to starting my practice, as I mentioned, I was in a very depressed state. Now keep in mind, let's go back a little bit further. The way I started was when I was young, before I was 20 years old, I was living on the streets. And my way of getting work was I was a construction laborer. I could go to construction sites and find the foreman and say, hey, I need a job. And this was 1980 something, early 80s, mid 80s. And I would get a job as a construction laborer, cleaning up stuff, stocking materials, basically the grunt guy, the guy that just labor. That's all I was. And I made $5 an hour, cash, which was better than what most of my friends were making, which was minimum wage was about $3.50 at the time, and they were getting taxes taken out. So I'm making good money at $5 an hour cash, but I'm killing myself for it. Eventually, this evolves into me becoming a drywall stocker. A drywall stocker, I would get up in the morning at 5 in the morning, maybe 4:30, pick up a 12-foot flatbed truck from the office, drive to the material yard, load up with 80 sheets of drywall, metal studs and framing materials, and then drive them to high-rise buildings in downtown LA and pack them into elevators by hand and unload them on the construction sites in high-rises about downtown LA. Commercial contracting. Okay, so I mean, this is a brutal job. I mean, I was ripped. I mean, I was getting fit and ripped, and that part was kind of cool, but I'm working 10 to 12 hours a day, stocking drywall nonstop, by hand, packing 4 by 12 foot sheets into elevators, and then unloading them out of elevators by hand, piece by piece, all day long. Pretty brutal stuff. And that's what evolved into my becoming a contractor. Now, most contractors, when they started in residential because it's safer, it's easier, and it doesn't take a lot of money. But I didn't know anything about residential. All I'd done was worked on commercial jobs. I knew all the materials. I knew all those things. So when I went out to find a job, a better job, I went to construction sites and I would just bullshit. I'd use terms like, oh, well, I know 5/8 and 3/8 and 4x8 and 4x12 and lids and green board and all. I'd use these terms that made it seem like I knew what I was doing because I was a stocker, so I knew all the materials. So I'd get jobs. And I began as an apprentice and I worked my way up. And it took a few years and I became a journeyman. Eventually, I mastered the drywall trade. Now keep in mind that commercial drywall contracting, I'm authorized and licensed as a drywall contractor to also build walls, install doors, windows, and ceilings. Why? Because you can't hang drywall unless you have a wall to put it on. And so therefore, anything that's contingent upon drywall, that drywall is contingent upon, then I get to contract for. So I can build T-bar ceilings, suspended ceilings. I can install windows and doors within the office walls, and I can frame the walls themselves. So as a contractor, I did all those. I was the go-to guy. And I was building dental offices, doctor offices, hospitals, shopping malls, restaurants, pretty big stuff. You can't drive for more than 20 minutes in any direction in Los Angeles and all of Southern California without me being able to point out the window and say, see that? That amazing looking thing right there? Yeah, I built that. I got stuff all over that place. And it was a very invigorating and exciting career that I had. But I got really bored because I didn't feel like I was doing anything meaningful with my life. As a spiritualist, as a mystic, as a man who's heavily into consciousness and people and behavior, I just didn't feel very fulfilled at all. And I was depressed. So I decided to look into this behavioral thing. And I did a 180-degree shift. I went from contracting that I built from nothing and worked my way up to where I was having 75 guys working for me to when to start a private practice. No college degree, no training, no anything. And I was like, I'm gonna become a hypnotherapist. Maybe I can't support myself, but maybe I can work less construction and be able to use this to help me pay my bills and take care of my son. That's how it started. And so I went to HMI, the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, and became a hypnotherapist. And started advertising and offering workshops, quit smoking, lose weight, these kind of things hypnotherapists generally are known for. My way of doing that was, as I was taking the courses and becoming certified, I was involved with a woman for many, many years, for 13 years total, and her father was Armenian, her mother was like French Canadian or something heritage, and so holidays they had these big get-togethers. So the big families would get together for like Easter, and I would go out during the family get-togethers, and I would go out and find where the smoking section was, where people are going outside to smoke. I'd give them my business card. I wouldn't lecture them or anything like that. I'd simply say, hey, if any of you guys want to quit smoking, I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I guarantee my work, okay? There's a woman, one of her like cousins or something, her name was Nazi, and she was a Persian woman, and she was really cool, and she said, I want to quit smoking. She gave me a call. She became my very first client as a hypnotherapist. She also was one of my last. Nazi and I worked together for 10 years together because I solved her smoking no problem. That was within 6 weeks. My smoking cessation course is 6 weeks on video today, and it's guaranteed. It works every time. And so I solved their smoking, no problem. And I could do that with everybody. They came with me, weight loss, getting fit, diet, whatever, and I could solve that within a few sessions. That's not going to pay my bills. Keep in mind, the medical industry has a philosophy. There is no money in curing a disease or solving a problem. There's only money in treating it. They always want you to keep coming back for more. Could they cure cancer? Could they cure AIDS? Probably. I don't know. All I know is if they could, they would not, because there's no money in solving and curing it. There's only money in treating it for your entire life. All these medication shit you see on commercial, it's all about upselling. Come in, get this, we'll make you a little bit better, and then you can keep doing it forever. We own you now. Because if you don't, then you'll be where you were. And of course, side effects include blah, 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 insanity, suicide, and death. I'd rather stick with the disease that I got, thanks. So here I am, started private practice with no college degree, no nothing, and as a hypnotherapist. And it was going pretty well, but I wasn't enough to pay my bills. I was making $300,000 a year as a contractor when I started from absolute nothing. And now I'm not making anywhere near that. I have a home, I have a child, I love my life, I have a comfortable life. I'm successful now when I started off very poor, and so I don't want to give that up. But I also want to go back to construction, and I'm still working. So I'm doing my contracting business while I'm doing hypnotherapy. I was actually changing in the parking lot of an office that I was subletting from my construction boots and jeans into a shirt with a tie to go into the office. I didn't want anybody to see me in construction garb. So I'd change in the parking lot, way out. I'd park far out. So I'd walk in and no one would see me in construction gear. And so I realized it wasn't going to be enough to sustain me and my family. I had to expand, I had to do something. Either that or keep invigorating my construction career, which was, without the passion that I had in it anymore, wasn't succeeding very much anymore. It was waning. So I began to expand. My clients were already kind of referring to me as their life coach, because once I would solve their problems to fill the time, I mean, I could hypnotize them and do all that in 20 minutes. And they've got a session that's going to be an hour or an hour and 15 minutes. And so what am I going to do for the rest of the time? So I would have conversations and dialogue about their life that was driving their behaviors that they came to me for, their diet, whatever. And sure enough, pretty soon, I was their life coach. And I became known in the community as the cavalry counselor. I found out people were referring to this to me behind my back. Cavalry counselor, meaning that I was the guy to call when no one else could get the job done. I thought that was really cool. So I was helping a lot of people, having a very fulfilling time, loving my career, loving my life. And sure enough, pretty soon, then I was like, okay, but it's not enough. I can't get enough clients with no therapy to sustain myself and have a full-time career. I'm subletting an office. Eventually, I did move in and I got my own office, something kind of small. So I moved up a little bit. But it still wasn't enough. And I did not want to go back and be construction. And again, I'm still a little bit doing both. Some construction and a lot of my practice. But it's not enough. And then I realized, well, I'm a recovered drug addict. I was a hardcore dope fiend for many years, quit on my own, mastered that stuff, learned a lot, and I can know way more stuff as a real dope fiend than these recovery centers and all this. And so I advertised. I went, hey, I ran 2 ads. One was on hypnotherapy, lose weight, quit smoking, blah, blah, blah. And then the other one was addiction treatment. And I thought, well, let's try it, private practice. Instead of going to work for some facility where I have to do what they told me, which I can't stand. Overnight, it exploded. I went from having a handful of clients every week to back-to-back clients, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, nonstop. I was a life coach, I was a hypnotherapist, I was a drug addiction treatment counselor, private practice, changing people's lives, making killer money, loving it, fulfilling it, and keeping people out of the hands of doctors and physicians and medicine and medical and prescriptions and facilities and treatment centers and all that stuff. And I'm like, this is my calling. Like, I loved it. So that's kind of how it all began. Now, where does E&P and suggestibility fit into all this? Because what I learned with E&P and suggestibility as a hypnotherapist that I can only learn from HMI and John Kappas. They're the only ones that teach it because he's the one that innovated it. We didn't just become the core and foundation of my private practice. If there was a lull, if there was anything that I am not the kind of guy that's going to make up issues for you to keep coming back to see me. That's what the medical industry does, and I'm totally against that. I'd rather go out of business. So my business model was very different. Rather than treating endlessly the same disorder for people, never really curing it, I would solve them. I'd solve their problems. And my business model was, but people are always going to have more issues. That's being human. They'll come back. And sure enough, my clients who came to me for quitting smoking or quitting drinking or whatever else, pretty soon, when we solved that, they'd have another issue coming up in their life. Everyone does. And they're thinking, well, who would I go to? Well, I'll go to Scott. He saved me before. Your average client, patient, therapist relationship is literally, you can Google this, 3 to 6 sessions. Mine, I was with people for years. Not because I didn't solve them, because I did solve them and they wanted to come back for more and other stuff. When we solved things, their attitude was like, and my attitude was, okay, now you've done this, what else can you do? Why stop there? Let's keep going until you can be the very best thing you can possibly be. Let's find out how far you can go. And they like that. I was the go-to guy. Pretty soon, whoever came to me to quit smoking or whatever it was, I was treating them for a long, long time for many different things that come up in life, as well as their spouses, their kids, their friends. The word of mouth got out, and so literally I'm seeing entire families for different issues privately. I wasn't doing group therapies and all, not occasionally, but generally I feel that the best work and best way to work with people is individually, not in groups. Groups don't work that well. People aren't genuine and real about it. Occasional groups, but generally I'm one-on-one with my clients. So this is how it kind of evolved into. And if there was a lull, rather than create a phobia or some kind of fear, hey, you need to keep coming to see me like the dime store psychic, like, well, if you don't come back and see me and pay me money for the tarot cards, well, then something bad's going to happen to you. Nothing like that. I'm solving their problems. But what I could do is anytime someone walked in my office, because of what I knew with E&P and Suggestibility, the moment I saw them, I knew tons about them. The way they dressed, the way they walked, the way they spoke, the way they gestured, anything they did, I could read volumes into who and what they were in an instant, partly because of E&P and Suggestibility that I learned from John Kappas, that I'll be presenting to you in these series of episodes. How is this possible? Because what E&P does, you've probably heard of Myers-Briggs. I think Myers-Briggs is okay. The Myers-Briggs personality theory test. It's what? RJNPT, whatever. There's like 6 or 7 or 8 of them. It's complicated, it's confusing, and it's way overcomplicated. It doesn't. Everyone's going to fit into some category when you make it so broad. Who can't will fit into that? But I find it very poor and very weak and very inferior to E&P. E&P is 2 categories, just 2, emotional and physical. Based on that, I could size someone up and know who they are and how to respond to them. And their suggestibility too, inferential or literal. Okay, we're going to get into this in these coming episodes where I'm going to explain them. Based on knowing what they were, an emotional or physical or an inferential or literal suggestible person, based on that, I could communicate them on their level and their own language. The reason most people cannot connect with everyone that they meet is because they can't speak to them on their own language, what's important to them. I don't mean issues, I'm saying subconsciously, what drives them, what motivates them, that they don't even know themselves. Milton Erickson, when he met people, he could size them up in an instant and know exactly what they needed and how they needed it. And that's what I was doing. I could size someone up in an instant before they even sat down in the chair as we're introducing each other. Based on the way they move, the way they dress, the way they speak, all these things, within an instant, I know what they want, what they need, and how to get them there. I have to go through the motions and ask them, what's up? What's going on? What are you here? What brings you here today? But I already know all this, okay? Give you a quick example. How someone can see me to quit smoking. And I found out in our first session, again, the moment I met her, I'm kind of like, okay, that's not what she needs. She does need to quit smoking, but that's not why she's here. She sat down, and within 20 minutes, I solved her smoking. Before I even hypnotized her, okay? Literally was done. We're talking for a while, and I'm not going to go into details at the moment. I'd be happy to share that. And She looks at me at one point about 20 minutes, and I said, what do you think? Are you going to keep smoking? She goes, no, I'm done. That's it. It's over. It's not a problem. She goes, oh my God, I didn't come here to quit smoking at all, did I? And I said, no, you didn't. I'm getting a little choked up because it was a wonderful moment, and she was a wonderful woman. We worked together for years, her whole family. I saw her kids over the years, several of them, her adult children, her husband on different issues, and it was I was like a surrogate family member to many, many people. She said, I didn't come here to quit smoking at all, did I? And I said, no, you didn't. She said, I came here because my instincts told me to find you because you need to help me grow and learn to be who and what I am. I said, that's exactly right. Smoking was a reason. You only started smoking, a couple months ago. You manufactured this issue because your spirit, your consciousness, needed to find me or someone like me to help you become who you needed to be, and you didn't know what that was. And now that we've met each other, and again, we worked together for years after this, her smoking didn't even take up half an hour of one session. It was done. She never smoked again. It wasn't a problem. So, and this is largely because of based on the E&P. I also have intuition. I wouldn't say that I'm psychic. I don't like that term, but certainly I have a capacity to know things about people and things and events that other people don't. To me, it's not psychic. To me, I just know them because I can quickly assess and evaluate the environment, the circumstances, all this information comes flooding in, and my brain automatically sifts through it all, and I can reason it, and I can make sense of it, and I know what it needs to be, what it can be, what it can't be. That's what I do. But on a clinical level, on a conscious level, on a psychological level, E&P is the foundation of this. When you know what someone wants, not what they think they want, but what they truly want and what they seek, then you can reach them and have a rapport with them and a connection with them and a bonding with them that makes you indispensable. As a counselor, as a therapist, I need this because I need my clients to trust me. I need them to have confidence. I don't even like trust. I can't stand that. It's a four-letter word. I don't want them to trust me. I want them to have complete confidence that they can rely on me to take them where they need to go and teach them what they need to learn and take them safely and smartly from where they are to where they want to be. That's my job. I'm like a Sherpa that takes the men up the mountain. Hillary and all these people get all the credit for climbing Mount Everest. Screw that. The Sherpas are these little local native guys who have been doing it for generations. They don't get any credit. That's bullshit. The Sherpas are doing all the work. All these people that climb Mount Everest, you watch these documentaries on Sherpas now, and I've been talking about it for years. Now you watch and it's like, okay, so basically these guys just walk up the mountain, but the Sherpas are like carrying all this stuff on their back. They're hauling all the gear, and they do it every day. They're like climbing the mountain like every day, and they don't get any credit for it. Nobody's praising them. So I like to look at it that what I do as a counselor, as I'm a Sherpa, my job is to guide and lead you to where you want to be, to the plateau, to the top, to your destination. You choose the destination. You choose the mountain peak you want to climb, and my job is to take you from where you are, from base camp, to the top of that vista. That's my role. That's what you pay me for. And that has to be sized up. I need to know, as a Sherpa does, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. What can you do, what can't you do? When somebody says, come to me to lose weight, I can't say, well, I got it for you. You ready? Make sure you pay me on your way out, because I'm just going to tell you right now, don't eat so much and work out more. There you go. You're done. That's true. Technically, that's all you need. Now you pay me. Pay me. Pay on your way out. You're done. Eat less, work out more. There you go. Now you can lose weight. I have to get to know people. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are their habits? And why? What's driving them? What's driving these habits is not pleasure and pain. We're going to go over what drives human behavior. The pursuit of pleasure, the avoidance of pain. What's driving that? How does somebody define pleasure? How do they define pain? Simple as it seems on the surface. How does the subconscious mind define pleasure and pain? Not the conscious mind. Screw that. That's 12% of your thinking apparatus. 88% of your thinking apparatus is your subconscious mind. Without getting your subconscious mind involved and on board, you ain't changing nothing. As I say in my books and on my website, if change were as simple as making up our minds, we'd all be perfect. We all know what we want to be and we know what to need. Eat less and work out more. There you go. Problem solved. and yet we don't do it. We can't do it. So what I teach is how to understand your strengths and weaknesses, what's driving you subconsciously, not consciously, subconsciously, how and why. Your subconscious mind is working behind the scenes to motivate you or demotivate you to do things and not do things, to succeed and to fail. This mystery is knowable. This is what I do. I teach people the mystery of unraveling their own subconscious layers of thinking. What motivates it? What drives it? The pleasure and the pain. The fear and the joy. What motivates? When you find that for every person you meet, you can inspire them, motivate them, persuade them, sell ice cubes to Eskimos, and I can sell Bic lighters to Satan. Not because I'm a NLP, shady car salesman, but because I listen and I can respond to what it is they truly need and seek. Again, when that woman walked into my office to quit smoking, within 20 minutes she said, I didn't come here for this at all, did I? I said, no, you didn't. Because I knew right away, that's not what she was there for. I saw that subconsciously, her own inner spirit was not seeking quitting smoking. That was not going to be a problem. She was seeking a mentor, a teacher, a trainer to help her develop her personality, her consciousness, her mind, her spirit, her being. And that's what I did. That's what I did for everybody. Yes, I had a lot of people that came to see me for clinical reasons. Quit smoking, lose weight, drug addiction, anxiety, depression, all that stuff. Generally, I knew how to solve that very quickly. I'm not saying you could solve it quickly. I'm saying like anxiety and depression. Yes, I know what all the answers are. I know what you're going to need over the next 12 weeks to solve this. But I can't give it to you all at once. I got to take you there. I got to take you up the mountain. You got to climb the mountain. I can't teleport you there. It won't work. You got to do it yourself. So I had to take the time. But I already know what's happening in week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and all that. And so for me, it was a little bit dull. Because I need to think. I need to be challenged. So helping them expand into other areas of their life, understanding E&P. If there was ever a lull in a session or with a client, again, I wouldn't create some phobia. Oh, you need to be worried about this. Divorce and death and la la la. You better keep coming to see me because I'm your savior. I'm not doing that. That shady crap. I'm going to solve your problems, not just treat them. But if there was a lull, one of the things I could rely on is I could introduce the theory of E&P and suggestibility. They would be intrigued, mesmerized. They would come back week after week after week just to learn E&P and its ability. Because once you master it, you are the master of the world. Not that we should exploit this knowledge, but it gives us the advantage. I use my powers for good instead of evil. I was always a good con man and grifter when I was young, but I used my powers for evil instead of good, to con women out of their clothes and people out of their drugs and out of their money and put them and give them to me. That's what I used my powers for back then when I was young. And eventually I grew up and evolved and I matured and I put bad ways behind me. I put good ways in front of me. And I realized I can use my powers for good instead of bad. Instead of persuading people into giving me things that they shouldn't because I'm a con man, how about I persuade people to do good things for themselves and become better people? Solve their problems. And that's what I've done. E&P gives you the power to do this. Once you understand and master E&P and suggestibility, which anyone can do, you're in the captain's seat. You're the driver in all your relationships. Use your powers for good instead of evil, because you can use them for evil, what I'm going to be sharing with you in these episodes. Use them for good. You will have longevity in your relationships with your children, with your lovers, with your friends, with your work peers, everyone. Longevity and substance, rather than just fragile, tenuous, tension, and things like this that come up all the time in every relationship. How to smooth these things out. And you're not selling out anything. You make them happy while making you happy. And sure enough, when you do it right, when you make them happy, they will make you happy. When you do it right, you can go with the flow or you can go against the flow. E&P teaches you how to go with the flow, and suggestibility teaches you how to talk to their subconscious mind. Not just the subconscious, but their subconscious, how theirs thinks and feels and processes things. You can evaluate this very quickly. That's what we're going to be presenting in this E&P series, which I think expect to be about 2-3 episodes. E&P and Suggestibility. To be continued. Bye for now from Pry Open Your Third Eye. Until next time, leave your third eye open. Full episodes, services, knowledge, and all you'll ever need on scottspacky.com and life-mind.com.